Okay, once again, I especially welcome our guest speaker. We are live on YouTube now, and I believe other people might also be watching us. So it's a pleasure having Mr. Falokun with us this night, and he's going to take us through the leveraging on data for development in Africa. So join me to welcome Mr. Falokun. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And I've been asked to give a brief profile of myself. I'm an electrical engineer by training. And after finishing my first degree, I went into the area of computer science, right? So before the old software that Zenith used to use in Nigeria, I led the team that installed Phoenix banking system at Zenith, which is a well-known institution over there. And so I also have an MBA where I learned a little bit more about management. I've been working in IT for about 30 years, right? So I've worked in many large institutions here in the United States, many large banks, and I lead a team of developers in my job that helps to develop really large applications in the banking environment. So right now I'm doing my doctorate in education, and everybody was like, why did you go from IT to education? That one is a passion, right? That one is just a passion. So, and I will be doing my research in the area of intelligence tutoring systems in education, which is to give the learners the most capability for success with artificial intelligence, data mining, all the tools we have, leveraging the open source tools, open source course materials, and presenting it in context to the learners so that they can learn as much as possible in as little as possible time. So that is the area of my thesis, and I'm actually going to be building software as part of that thesis. So it's not just writing the paper, but actually building a system and testing it and seeing if it achieves the goal of helping learners learn better and faster. So that is my background, and I don't know if I can share my screen. I will share. Okay, I'll do that. So let me know if you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we're looking at how we can help accelerate development in Africa, leverage data mining, data analysis, data interpretation, and with a special focus on education in today's session. So again, data mining was well treated last week, and even by the review, I could see we were taught a lot and we learned a lot. And then there are 17 goals that the United Nations has set for development goals for nations all over the world, and education is one of them. We'll do a deep dive into education. And then we'll look at some of the approaches we can use in data-driven development in education, and then how we can apply design thinking so we can quickly make a difference. So we're not doing things in cycles of months, but we can quickly try things out, see the impact, and prototype. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'll go also where the questions lead. And I will take note of time here, so I'm conscious of time in the presentation. So data mining, we talked about, it's the process of spending time actually looking at the data, manipulating it in new ways, and trying to tease out as much information as possible from the same collection of information. I actually did a training today for some of our people somewhere from the UK, US on data visualization and with Tableau. And it was quite an interesting class. Everybody was able to start visualizing within just, I think, like 3 hours, people were able to visualize data. So one of the things we talked about there is you want to be able to explore the data. That's a separate step from reporting on the data, because one of the things you see in research is you have outliers in the data. Even when you run your data set through R and so on, it doesn't do the full job. Even when you run the statistical tools like R and many other tools, you then look at the charts they create so that you can see the outliers in the data, because you could have 200 records and 2 records pull the entire data set into a different direction, and you can see visually their outliers, right? And you want to deal with those data records so that you have a clean data set. So that's one of the things you do when you collected your data. You just kind of explore the data. You look at it visually, you run some of the basic descriptive stats on the data just to understand your set of data. And it's okay. That helps you see the kind of like outliers, problems in the data. You take care of those, and you go through the process of munging, cleaning up, and modeling the data. And then you validate that, and then you can generate reports that are more dependable. But you spend a lot of time on this last week. So here are the 17 United Nations standard goals that the United Nations has set for the entire world. And number 1 goal is no poverty. The number 2 goal is zero hunger. Number 3 is good health and well-being. Number 4 is quality education. Number 5 is gender equality. Number 6 is clean water and sanitation. 7, affordable and clean energy. 8, decent work and economic growth. And we all, as economics, we're all familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, right? Maslow's hierarchy, and where you have the levels. If a person is not safe, or if a person is hungry, why will he care about the 17 identities of calculus? Tell me. If a child goes to school, his tummy is empty, and it takes a lot of grace to even think about what the teacher is saying. The child is just like, where will I eat today? Where will I eat this evening? That's all you'll be thinking while the teacher is talking. And so we know, even from Maslow's hierarchy, that is a fact. Those foundational needs of just physical well-being, safety, and so on, they need to be met before you are thinking of self-actualization. Let me be the best I was created to be. Let me make an impact in the world, right? If you can't eat, you're not thinking about making an impact in the world. You're only thinking about making an impact on your tummy. It's just the reality. And Maslow captured that appropriately, which as economics, we're all familiar with Maslow. In education, there's something as foundational to education, I'm not showing the chat today, called Bloom's taxonomy. It's also a hierarchy. It says when you learn first, you learn things like memorization, and you learn those skills. And then at the top, you learn like do and create. You're now creating, inventing. It's called Bloom's taxonomy. And somebody tied them together and said, you have to Maslow before you can bloom. If you don't eat, you can't get good education. So that's why in the US, they realized that. And students come from poor homes, you just fill a form and they'll give you breakfast in the school. And they'll also give you food before you leave the school, so that at least you can survive on those 2 meals, even if there's no food at home. You come early to school, they'll feed you. Before you leave, they'll feed you. So no matter what's happening at home, they want to give you enough that at least when you get home, you're interested in your homework. While you're in the school, you are listening. Because they realize you've got to Maslow before you can bloom. You can't educate an hungry child. It's difficult. The child would have to be extra motivated. But anyway, here are the 17 United Nations SDGs, right? Development goals that we have, standard development goals. And then being able to do decent work, and then industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, that's taking care of the creatures below in the water and the oceans, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions and partnership for the goals. So Those are the standard goals, and a lot of thinkers in the United Nations, as you know, a lot of PhDs and a lot of very smart people, and they put together these goals. And today we'll drill down on education, because it's funny, education can lead to solving literally all the goals. And of course, like we said, even in education, you have to consider Maslow, like, and before you can bloom. So drilling down into, these are their 10 goals in the area of education, right? Drilling down into that, quality education. This is ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for everybody. And then they kind of broke it down. I'm not going to read all of this. But one of the things we're finding out is that technology can make a difference in this quality education. For those who have, when I was doing my undergrad, I specialized in telecommunications. And I remember I worked with, was it GPT in Apapa, Wharf Road it was. And we used to solder circuit boards and all that stuff. And one of the things that you see in the area of infrastructure, America was far ahead, and Europe, of everybody in the area of telecommunications. And it was very expensive. And they have laid hundreds of thousands of telephone lines, copper lines all over America. But when technology came out with fiber optics, with microwave, with cell phone, it allowed countries like Korea that spent nowhere near where America spent to leapfrog America and be ahead of America in the area of telecommunications. It's just the truth. And that's why you have buildings in South Korea, they drop fiber optic lines straight to the building. The internet access is so much faster than what we have in the US, because the companies here, they look like, we've spent billions. Are we going to throw away all that money? Let's use it for a while before we invest in the new stuff, you know? And so, because they've laid cable all over the country, right? But these countries are like, we haven't laid cable. We don't have that problem. We just go to the new thing. And the same thing now with telecommunications, mobile phones. My old boss at my old job used to say, he thinks that there are more cell phones in India than toothbrush. Meditate on that for a minute. There are more cell phones, that's what he said, in India than toothbrush. Because technology has been such a game changer, especially with the mobile phone. And that's the same thing we're seeing in Africa. The mobile phone is everywhere. So if we can target education to the technology like mobile phone and use trends in education like micro-learning. Micro-learning means you just literally, you drip deliver the concepts to the child. The child can learn one concept at a time and master that concept. For example, like I said today, I did a training in Tableau for data visualization. And the people that were in the class, I had taken them through databases, and one of my brothers had taken them through R. And then today we came to Tableau. And some of them realized, I can get a job with Tableau, just Tableau. And they all got it today. They all were working. They all were creating dashboards in Tableau. And one of the sisters said, okay, I think we're going to focus on Tableau. And we looked up jobs on Tableau. She said, there are many jobs just knowing Tableau, from $78,000 per annum to $140,000, just being able to visualize data. And if you think about all the jobs in the area of data analytics, that's just one class, one Saturday. And she said, you know what? I think this is the area I want to get into. And everybody was like really excited. So education can be a game changer for Africa. Education coupled with telecommunications and mobile. And so that's something that we can all look at maybe when we get to discussion, and we'll talk about some of the opportunities and the trends. Okay, so when we talk about a data-driven approach to education, one of the things we've seen is e-learning, learning online without leaving your house has grown by leaps and bounds, helped along by the pandemic, right? And it might be, maybe now that we're close to the pandemic, it's too difficult and too many people have lost their lives for us to see any possibility of good out of it. It might be that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, Africa will say, ah, we're sorry to say it, but the pandemic happened. Because the pandemic forced like an earthquake, a seismic shift in the global order, allowing people to work from anywhere and making it acceptable. So, for example, at my job, I have teams in the US, Canada, and also in India. And before COVID, nobody in India that was working for us worked from home. Nobody. When COVID hit, where the day they were about to lock down Pune and Chennai, hey, our consulting company was driving the van around, delivering laptops to people's houses, trying to beat the deadline when the Indian government said, from this point, India is locked down. So we said, everybody go home, and then they were delivering laptops to people's houses, setting them up. And for the last year, they've been working from home. Nobody can ever take that away from them again. That one is a done deal. What will you say? They've been more productive in the last 1 year. How will you justify that? Well, when you work from home, you are not productive? How will you say that? You cannot. The results are there. But without the pandemic, nobody would have permitted that. No US company that I know of. Most of them would not have signed up. Oh, are people in India? No, we need them in the office. But with COVID, that one is history now. And it may be that in the future, in Africa, we may look at, oh, that thing that broke work away from the office, it now led to the next step where people can work from Africa and work from companies in the US and literally work from their home and be employed and be doing IT, be doing data analytics from their houses in Africa, because the pandemic has made that a standard now. So e-learning is one of the things we're seeing. That was necessity, it's now a standard. And then within e-learning, you have specific systems. You have what are called learning management systems, LMSs. You have like Moodle, many of us know Moodle. Maybe not as many of us will know Canvas. Canvas is the fastest growing e-learning system now in the world. It has literally taken over all the Ivy League universities in the US, except one of them. The one that invented Moodle, that invented Blackboard. They are the only Ivy League school that have not switched to Canvas. All the others have switched. We understand why those ones don't want to switch. Blackboard was invented in their school, so they will almost die with it if possible. One day they will switch. One day they wake up and say, look, we invented it here, let's move on. But those are LMSs, right? Learning management systems. Like even now in the church, we're actually loading up right now the short-term ministerial course into Canvas. And so we're loading it in there so that that training, that quality Bible education can be given to anyone in the world through learning management systems. And we have to kind of look at the standards in education, course level, outcomes, modules and units, appraisals, evaluations, all that, and in turning the material into a material that can be delivered appropriately by learning management systems. So, and then there's another area of education, intelligent tutoring systems. And this one has many, many branches. And it's a very exciting area. In fact, I recently just dug into that area. I was shocked how much is available there to support learners. So, for example, there's one area of intelligence tutoring system that as the students are navigating the LMS, the learning management system, and it's getting data, it's seeing how often they log in. They are now applying predictive analytics to the activities in that student. They will tell you, they can tell you now, a student that will fail, right? Just based on their behavior in the LMS tool. Just based on that, taking the fields of psychology, taking the data in the LMS, how often he logs in, how often he submits assignment late, they can tell you now, this student, unless he changes, is going to fail. And they can tell you long time before he fails, so you can take remedial action and fix it. And so that's one field of intelligent tutoring system. There's another field of intelligent tutoring systems that where the learning parts before LMSs, when they were built, the learning parts were all the same. Everybody had to go through all the same steps. Now they're like, okay, upfront they may do a small test in the problem domain. And from that test, they can know, what you don't know. They will now create a learning path personalized for you. That's one of the trends in education. Personalization. Everybody doesn't go through the same material because everybody is not the same. And as you log in, and then you take that pretest, okay, they'll create a profile for you, a learner profile. This is what you know well, this is what you don't know, this is what you know, this is what you don't know. And in fact, I took one, our office recently implemented an AI-based learning system as well, and I took a class. It is very interesting. It says, okay, where do you rate yourself? Where do you think you are? Okay, and then you rate yourself. They put in profile. Then they say, okay, we're going to try and determine where you are. They just ask some questions, and not only the answer, not only that you give the answer, they say, how sure are you of this answer? So not only do you give the answer to the question, they ask you, how sure are you of this answer? I'm very sure, I'm not so sure. And when you say you are very sure of something and you miss the answer, it tells them something about you. Right? Because I am an expert in this area, and yet you miss the answer. If you say, look, this area, I'm not sure, and then they know they know you, so they form that up front, and then they start to guide you through the system to a customized learning path. And those are things that I think we have to design. We have to put the effort. We have to deploy those systems massively across Africa. That as our children log on, because there are not enough teachers, we're going to build computer systems that will help them. We're literally going to build as intelligent computer assistants for our children, computer tutors that will take care of them. As a log on, hello, welcome, so and so, how are you? Okay, these are your objectives. You finish this one. You seem to be struggling with this area. Okay, this is the next thing I recommend you take. Just take that. I need to be helping each child, and then no child will fail. Because the schools cannot operate that way. Because you have class 10 or class 6, all the students there, the teacher has an agenda, and he has to teach this on Monday, teach this on Tuesday. He has no time to wait for any student. And it's unfortunate to say, oh, so sorry, student, I have to keep going. And he drops some students behind and they fail. But intelligence tutoring systems help us to solve that problem. A lot of detail we can get into that. But one of the things I want us to look at is, even as we want to apply these systems to education, we have to do design, right? So, and this is where design thinking is very important. This is Stanford. This is the Stanford School of Design, this URL. They have a lot of materials freely available online. This is the design school at Stanford. And they recommend, when you're designing things and solving problems, this 5-step process for speedy solutions. So you're not spending a year solving problems. You can solve something in a month, 2 months, move on, and then solve the next problem. This is what they recommend. And I'm being conscious of time here. I think I have about 11 more minutes before the question.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
You still have time. It's okay. Just you are the only speaker for today, so you are in control, and we are ending by 9:30, so we still have time.
Okay, very good. So then you look at these 5 steps. You empathize. That is, you seek to understand. You put yourself in the shoe of the person whose problem you are trying to solve. Because sometimes the problem is not as obvious, right? Uh, as we think it is. So, for example, if somebody is white and they're from a rich family and a rich neighborhood, they may not easily know what a black child goes through, because the black child, just to walk from home to school, the child is thinking and praying, I pray nobody shoot me today, because he's in a bad neighborhood, right? And when you're going to design a system that helps that child holistically, you have to be in that child's shoes. You have to see, and that's what empathize means. And then you define the problem. And you can define the problem in terms of personas. You can define the problem in terms of a high school graduate in Africa. The problem of a high school graduate in Africa is different from the problem of a child going to primary school. A child going to primary school cannot take himself to school. Somebody else will drive him to school. The high school graduate, that persona, in order to solve a problem for that persona, is different. And so you have to define the problem and what persona the problem is, and the pain points for that persona and the challenges. And then you make some decisions. And then you ideate and you share ideas. What can we do? This problem that seems unsolvable in Africa. You know, God is so good and merciful. He has provided many solutions. I mentioned a while ago, I mentioned again, in case some of us were not in that session. Do you know that 20 years ago, MIT started this system of OCW, Open Courseware, where MIT decided to publish the entire curriculum of MIT free online. And MIT is one of the best engineering schools in the world. They're one of the top 10 engineering schools in the world. So all their lectures, they recorded all their lecturers in MIT classroom, put it on the internet, everything, the entire curriculum of MIT. So people don't know, anybody in the world can get an MIT quality education. They started it 20 years ago, 20 something years ago. In fact, some schools in Africa, when they saw that, they said, well, okay, we're going to let the MIT lecturers teach our kids. They have the equipment. They started playing those videos of MIT lecturers teaching science, teaching education in their universities, and say, you know what? Our kids may not have a degree that says MIT, but we all know they have the same thing in their head that the MIT kids got in their head, which is the most important thing, right? And so when you think about solving the problem, first is the teaching. If you don't have the teaching, how can you educate people? I'm happy to tell you, and there are thousands and thousands of quality teaching online for free. That when you build an intelligent tutoring system, it can access those teaching and deliver that teaching, and you evaluate. And even though you don't get an MIT degree, you can create a system, a degree system that tests the students and say, you know what, we tested them based on this content, they know the content, and here's the results of the education. So those are the things we do when we ideate. And there's no bad idea. When you are doing ideation, it's yes and thinking. You don't, when somebody suggests something, you don't say, no, I don't agree. No, everybody's idea is equally valuable. And then you prototype. And the key thing here is iterate quickly. Keep it simple. Fail fast. If it won't work, you want to know within 1 month. You don't want to spend a big project, appoint 10 project managers to do it, and you do mock-up. So that's the idea of prototyping, and then you try it out. This intelligent tutoring system, we can build it and try it out immediately on our kids. We can just even throw it on the internet, play with it, improve it. It can become the backbone of taking Africa into the lead engineering-wise. And here's the thing, because we are so far behind that we can afford to be desperate. What do we have to lose? You see, the problem is the people that have gone ahead. Sometimes they are stuck with their own system. They don't want to change. Like the American education system is very difficult to change. But look at what the Indians have done and focused on engineering and computer science. and they have taken over a lot of the IT roles, like very difficult now to find a database administrator job in the US for others. They've cornered it, they help themselves get it, which is good. It's good that they're helping themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is we have nothing to lose to try these things. We don't need government support either. Government support is good, and sometimes the government can come later. But what I mean is we don't have to wait for government support. That's what I mean. If government supports, all the better. Praise the Lord. But as individuals, we can build an intelligent tutoring system, put it online, let our kids log in with very little money and start to educate our kids. In fact, what's the name of this man that is on the internet that everybody, they want to learn math in high school? Do you know the guy I'm talking about? I don't know why his name is sleeping. There's a website. There are people, you want to learn math, you want to learn this, it's very popular. Okay, I'll look it up before. Does anybody knows that website? You know the website I'm talking about? Free online education. Okay, let me drag this and see if I can find it. Just give me a second. And I'm just trying to buttress the point I'm making, that the guy, when he started, he didn't have funding, right? Free online math tutoring. He didn't have funding. He started by himself, and now is an institution, Khan Academy. Have we all heard of Khan Academy?
Oh.
Yeah. I think I've heard it. Yeah.
Okay, which government helped him? If he had sat waiting for government, it was a vision. He just started. In fact, he recorded a lot of videos, but we can even do better now with ITS. And now, after he started, people started to give money, and he has educated a lot of kids. Just the vision. So that's my point. I mean, it's good for government to help, but we don't have to wait for government to help. So we can ideate, prototype, and test on what works quickly. I don't know if there's any questions on what we have covered so far before we go on into some more detail. Okay, so let's go in. So, for example, let's apply design thinking to a problem about Blacks and minority education in the United States, or the education of Africans, right? So one of the things is you want to create a student-centered learning environment, which is also the intelligent tutoring system qualifies for that. And then you see the goal: identify the skill gaps among minorities in relational database technology careers. This was a particular session that a small group of people did, and design a prototype of a solution to the issue by leveraging design thinking principles. So let's look at it. So empathy, you create an empathy map. When you're doing this empathy, you said, what does the learner think and feel? So this one, actually, we had a lot of input from a lot of our brethren in Africa on this one. People feel, what they think is that IT is difficult and expensive. They don't know that in 8 hours, they can learn something that can start to feed them while they continue to learn. People don't know that. You have to go to university after 4 years. And so what does the learner think and feel? And they told us, we think IT is difficult. It's expensive. And we think it's only for geniuses. That's what the learner thinks and feels. What does the learner hear? And then some of them mentioned training is theoretical in Africa without hands-on labs. It's theoretical, the teachers, even when it comes to programming. I remember, sorry for those of you who went to IFE. I'm sure things have changed, right? So I'm just saying what we went through. At that time, I graduated from IFE in 1989, right? And at that time, I did electrical electronics engineering. When we wanted to program, we write our code, we take it to somebody in some room, he punches into cards, and then we take the punch card and we go to the data center. I still remember the center of that building, and I say, please run our code. How in the world do you become an expert programmer like that? You need a laptop, you need to be on a computer, right? So that's what they say. Training is theoretical without hands-on labs. Foundational knowledge is lacking. Foundational knowledge is lacking, right? And poor internet access. Even if the material is online, if you can't get to the internet, because you can't afford it. So those are some of the things we heard in the empathy map session, right? What does the learner say and do? Some of the few trained prefer to go into hacking due to love of quick money. That is those who, the people who that know programming, they want to go into 419. That's what people said. And that's what the learner said. Taking postgraduate customer diplomas to try and switch to IT. What does the learner see? Lack of access, lack of electricity and laptops, lack of awareness from childhood. You know, the things the Americans do, they buy toys for their kids, they buy Lego. You know why Lego is such a big company? It's not a joke. The education of the kids have started. Lego is not a toy. Lego is an educational tool. You know how many engineers were made by play with Lego? I used to play with Lego when I was a little kid. It connects the neurons in your head to start to think, how do you connect this? How do you do this? It's not a toy, it's education. And that's the thing the white people do. They buy toys and toys and toys and toys for their kids. They're educating their kids, but we don't have that basic awareness, right? From childhood, it's lacking. And so there's lack of basic skills. Some people can't even use email or productivity tools, right? And I mean, not to blame, it's the environment, right? A lot of it is in the environment. My brother-in-law, who were both in IFE, and he did his PhD in engineering at MIT. He said when he first got to MIT, and they told him to go and use the photocopier. Where did we use this kind of photocopier? He said, so I stood there, like, and watched. I didn't do as if I was learning. I watched somebody come and use a photocopier. So that's how I learned to use a photocopier. Very basic things that even those that make it, we have to overcome a lot to get there. So when you talk about pain, lack of basic access, this was mentioned here as well. And then the gain IT knowledge to get a good paying job and a good life. So this is just an example of an empathy map, but this is part of Stanford's process of solving problems, the design thinking. So this is empathize, right? And then you define the problem statement. Again, we can come up with problem statements that we want to solve immediately. Students at the high school and college levels and adults looking for a career change need access to affordable and hands-on quality computer education. And could be others. There could be many, many problem statements. So, and then you ideate, right? And you can brainstorm, you can put sticky notes on the wall, you can use Google Docs and just all type of ideas. And we can throw the ideas out there and then we brainstorm. And then from there, we pick which, I think Mercy entered the waiting room. Somebody wants to let her in. I'm going to move this one on screen. So and then you ideate, for example, increase awareness among minorities of the path to technology careers. You don't need to be a genius. We need to get that message out there. You don't need to be a genius, right? And this doesn't require a big investment. It could be a Facebook page that starts to gain traction. Our children should be introduced to games and toys that introduce them to technology and stir up their interest and curiosity in technology. The psyche of children should be built up so that they have confidence in their ability to succeed. Sorry for that title. In their ability to succeed in STEM and IT professions. All schools should teach all students basic IT skills and so on. So this was just possible solution. This now says leverage student-centered learning approaches. So I'll change this now to leverage intelligence tutoring systems and AI and data-driven approaches to education. So and then we did a prototype on Canvas and then show and tell. People should show what they've learned by what they've done. and then you get some feedback. So that's just Stanford's approach to design, that is to solving problems, whatever problem. And boy, do we have a lot of problems we need to solve, and we don't want long road to solve them. We want quick, pick a problem, use the statement, solve that one, move to the next thing. I'll pause and see if there are questions or thoughts. I'd like to get some feedback. Everybody is so quiet.
Okay, good. I can hear you. We are. I'm excited.
Okay.
Loaded, fully loaded.
So that was okay. And then yeah, I think that's it. We'll stop there.
Okay, sorry. I think for me too, it's a new area that I'm just looking that okay, we can actually transform this and make our continent a better place. Do you get? So it's like I'm just trying to get as much as I can in, from your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Akindesman or Dr. Akindesman. Thank you for that. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Go ahead, sir. Dr. Akin.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this session, and I want to thank the coordinator, Dr. Aoyomi, for bringing you here. I've also been listening, with very attention, just like Dr. Ayababi mentioned. It has actually been an eye opener to me. I'm also into IT, so to say. I'm a research analyst. I'm now also into this Tableau, Power BI, SQL thing. And the way this could be applied to education actually got me thinking that as a teacher too, and the son of a teacher, I've been teaching for quite some time. Right from when I left secondary school, teaching some of the kids of my father's friends and others like that. So and again, I tutored some of the kids for like almost 7 years before coming to Abuja here. And I've been thinking as we were going through this on how this could be brought together to really assist kids at different levels, either at the foundation level or at the secondary school. And I really want to thank you. And I think we will still connect later to have some of these materials, for use. It's actually something that is very, very important for us, to bring up our youth in a way that they will be useful to themselves and to the society at large. So thank you very much for the session. And thank everyone too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your feedback. That was very encouraging, Dr. Akin. So I know we have some time left.
Let's
say Father Tomorrow is all right.
I expect other people to also make comments.
Father, my tomorrow is all right. In the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen.
In the name of
Can we?
Okay. Anyone else with a question or comment? You can unmute yourself. Okay, I see Andrina.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that was a very interesting presentation. My name is Andrina, and I just want to appreciate the presentation, but also to ask and find out, being a person who deals mostly with policymakers, if you're in a room with ministers that are responsible for technical vocational education on the continent, and you want to bring in the ideas around design thinking, what is that one thing that you tell the policymaker in terms of looking ahead for the continent and what we need to change in the way that our own education system is preparing the students for this design thinking? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrina. as you were speaking, the thing that came to my mind was I think most good leaders want to make a difference, right? Many of them think there's nothing they can do, that they're just going through the motions. Already in their mind, they have given up. That anybody that thinks that Africa can catch up, so many of them, they've given up. And I think one of the things one has to give out is hope, which is true hope, and say, you know what are your goals? Let them know there's this way of designing and prototyping stuff that we can quickly prototype something for very little cost that will be able to show you results, not in a long time, but within just a few months, we'll be able to show you results for very little money. And I think that might catch the attention of somebody that is hoping that something can be done. And I think, and then you want to be able to do a study and statistically and then show some results from that study. And I think that is one of the things that I would recommend. I don't know if that answered your question, Andrina.
It does, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. It does. But sometimes we have to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Now, saying that I like the idea of giving hope, because sometimes leaders tend to lose hope and they want to be there just to be in there. But just encouraging them that the small contribution they make can actually make a difference, even in starting in a small way, and that could lead to something big. But thank you.
Thank you so much. And the other thing we could do is to show where.
Hello.
Hello.
I thought Dr. Ashim wants to talk.
I also want to talk, Doctor.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Enilolobo.
Thank you very much. First, let me appreciate the host, Dr. Awoyomi, for putting this together. And I really want to appreciate the presenter, Mr. Ayo. Actually, it was quite interesting, much more that being just given an appointment in my institution to see how to set up a distant learning for my institution. Actually, I'm a lecturer, a researcher in economics, agricultural economics, development economics, but we are about setting up distant learning in my institution. And as the presentation was going on, it was very interesting to me, especially the area of intelligent tutoring system. And I believe we still try to link up with Mr. Yo to see how we can work together for possible collaboration. That's just the comment I want to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to get your contact and be able to work with you. And I'm going to send you my phone number in the chat now. You can just on WhatsApp ping me, and we'll help to set a solid system for your school. By the grace of God, the Lord helping us. And the more examples we have, others who want to follow as well. Like even in Nigeria, right? When you see, then what are some of the states that they said they developed so fast that I don't know if they said Akwa Ibom or Port Harcourt or Rivers, and everybody was going there, and other governors were challenged to also try to do something in their state. So and I pasted my number to you now in the Zoom chat, so you can ping me on WhatsApp.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And one of the things I would like to mention, and I think if I didn't get everything into the presentation, but there are some. Yes, go ahead. Somebody was saying something.
Yes, I wanted to, before you continue, I wanted to ask if there are other people that want to also make comments before
Okay.
you, so that we can have everybody
Okay.
do something. Hello, Dr. Messi, Obi Emenike. I've not had Emenike. I've not had Dr. Messi, and I think that's why I just want to. Okay, before you respond, I wanted to say something about what Andrea mentioned. It's a privilege having you here, Andrea. Andrea is in charge of education and skill for African Development Bank. It's a great privilege having you here. Thank you so much. It's a big opportunity for us to network together. I want to say that if you are in a meeting where you have ministers, head of state and all that, the first thing I will expect is that they should reach out to you, and people like us who can be like volunteers and pioneer certain things that has never been done. I believe in bringing people together to solve problems. I don't see anything that I will lose by bringing people together. I believe I will gain more. So if you have such opportunity, please, as you do often, reach out to me, and then we'll be able to say, okay, this is what we can do for this country. And it's going to be cost effective, and it's going to even almost free. So we can raise volunteers for them, and we can make impact in Africa. That's what I believe. And there are many people out there who are willing to sacrificially give their time, their talent, their skill, their experiences in making sure that we rise up to make Africa great. So volunteers, and we are willing to help, we are willing to support. And just like we are not paying Mr. Ayo to deliver this presentation. And if I say tomorrow, this is what we want to do, I'm very, very sure we will even raise more people that will join us, making sure that we help African country, provided they want to do it, they believe it, and it will be a success story. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Ayo.
Okay, thank you so much. So one of the things I'll just share, I'm going to drag my browser over to this screen. Like I said, it's not in a presentation format, but this paper, sister mentioned, Andrina, how do you convince? So this, for example, this paper was done in Algeria. This is a peer-reviewed paper, right? That was done in a journal entry. This was a simple study where they just said, we're going to check how it's already, the study was comparing an intelligent ITS, but an ITS with a specific feature, because ITS is a very wide field. So, but both sets of, this was an experimental design, quantitative analysis study with a full experimental design with pre and post tests, right? And so one of the things that they mentioned were open educational resources, like I mentioned, like MIT's famous open courseware, right? And they're also open educational practices. So what they essentially did is they created a way where, without the students deliberately searching, they have some of the theoretical underpinnings, right? They use descriptive logic, light, and using the word W3C consortium, how two profiles to kind of to model the appropriate domain. So like the educational area of study. And this is the architecture, right? But I'm not going to spend time on that. So, but look, for example, this is an ITS model. This is one way model of an ITS, where you have the learner. Of course, with computer science, we have different user interfaces. It could be mobile, right? It could be speech, text to speech. It could be the person typing, chatting, right? And all kinds, but this is just saying this is how the learner interfaces with the system. And within that system, you have, and there's work here, right? But it's work that can be done, right? And this work, this is a research paper that did something already in Nigeria. There are many out there, right? And I have information on the seminar leaders in the field, because it's one thing to have the concept, it's another thing to be able to apply realistically in a short time. So essentially you model the problem domain. If it's math, if it's engineering, if it's computer science, you have to model that problem domain and have that model. And then you model the pedagogical model, right? You have a knowledge base of the teaching methods, the courses and the modules and units within those courses. And what are you evaluating when you have formative and summative assessments? And then you have that. And then you model the learner himself. Within the learner, you have the learner's preferences. As the learner is learning, you are also putting down what they have learned successfully and what questions they failed. And then you have intelligence to apply, say, okay, based on your profile, this is what I'm going to provide to you next. But this particular case, I have to, if I don't tell this person I'm in a meeting, they'll keep trying to call on WhatsApp. Then you model that, and then as the learner is going, it knows who the learner is, and it can dynamically present a customized learning path and learning experience. But here, this particular study was just saying, in fact, both the experimental and control group had an ITS. So what they added was a background search as you are walking, without you searching. The system just could see you are working as a student, learning. It will just automatically go behind the scenes to the internet. Like, for example, you can go to the MIT courseware and find relevant materials to what you are doing and just bring it back to you and say, just by the way, these are some resources automatically provided. The student doesn't have to go look for them. It just shows up. Yeah, I see what you're doing. These are quality materials. That's what they call the prospecting module, the search module. And so they did this simple study, and then you have the ontologies to represent the domains and all that. I don't want to spend all that time there, but they did this study, very simple study, and you have the pre-test, the post-test, and you can see the graphical representation of the results, right? At the pre-test, everybody was essentially the same. At the post-test, you can see the experimental group had learned much more, And this just based on search. Don't forget, this blue group is also using intelligent tutoring systems, but they just added the background automated search. So when I say the field of intelligent tutoring is vast, it's like the ocean, right? So both groups, both the control and experimental group, were using an ITS, but this ITS added this module. They wanted to see if that additional module would make a difference. And it did. It reduced the learning time. And look at the learning gain. Just adding that one feature to an ITS. And there are many things we can add, and our children can learn and lead this world in education. The material is there. It's now in our hands to do something. So, and then of course they use these various statistical analysis, right? This one they use, what do they use? ANOVA, one-way ANOVA, because you're only looking at the impact of one item. So, but again, you see the p-value and the f-test, so statistically proven to make a difference. There are many studies out there done on different aspects of ITS. This is just, if I added an automated background search, will it make a difference? And they said it did. So there are many papers that can be presented, Andrina, to the leaders that's from peer-reviewed scholarly studies that stand the test of science. That's just what I want to mention. Thank you. Any other question or thing you want us to discuss?
Any other question? Observation? can just raise.
If there are no observation, I just wanted to take maybe 5-10 minutes. What problem are we trying to solve? Because there are many problems to be solved, and sometimes you want to drain the ocean, you have to drain it one thing at a time. So what would be a good goal? What goal do we all think in the area of education? Look, when India wanted to help their children, they didn't pick every area at a time. They didn't say want to be expert in vaccine. They picked engineering and computer science. Let's get our children to be experts. Let's focus on engineering and computer science. And then later everything came in, the medicine, the hospital, the medical doctor. But they picked and said, you know what? We can. And we could pick data analytics. We know there are thousands of subjects in the world. We can pick one and say, this one, oh, let's get Nigerian kids to top the world in this area. And as that one, people are advancing that one, advance other areas, somebody else will pick another area, whatever. But that's why I'm asking us now, as we're not obviously able to do a full empathy session, but let's make use of this session and do some ideation. Again, we're not doing a full design thinking, but let's do something. Let's take a few minutes and get some ideas, because you'll be shocked that the ideas we have in our heads can solve a lot of problems for a lot of people already.
Okay. I think we might not be... Okay, go ahead, Obi.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ayo. Very, very insightful presentation you had this night, and I think I've learned so much from this. My concern is just how do we integrate this into our systems? That's what I mean, it's nice to have perfect presentation in terms of how it's done in India, how the US and all, but how do we integrate this? I mean, I'm not asking you for you to answer, but that's just my thinking. How do we migrate from this kind of analog system we're using now to this kind of digital system that you're trying to present to us? I don't know. I'm not saying you should answer it, but for me, it's food for thought, because this is the way to go. But I'm just thinking loud. How do we begin to reason like this in terms of getting this into our educational system, into our, the way things work here in Nigeria, if you bring in these concepts now, how do we begin to start? I think you mentioned the idea of having to start small, and then if it's seen that it's working here, then we can blow it up a little bit. But I'm saying loud, and it's food for thought for us. How do we get this into the system?
It's a good question. So I think we should all brainstorm on it. Again, we can time box this presentation and have a bigger brainstorming session another day. But I like that question. How do we integrate this? Let's throw a few ideas on the board. Let's ideate for 5 minutes. I think Dr. Oyame is ready to wrap up, right? Let's ideate for 5 minutes. Sometimes you'll be shocked at what comes out in 5 minutes. That's one thing I'm learning.
Okay, let's drop it idea that you think we, based on Dr. Obi's question or comments, just drop it, and Dr. Desmond will help us collate it. Probably next week when we meet, we'll now have the summary. Is that okay? Because of our
that's
time.
perfect. That's perfect.
Because we want to leave here before 9, so that will be encouraging to us, that we know that we are always to time.
On time. Okay.
So drop it, or you can drop it on our WhatsApp platform. We have a WhatsApp platform, and probably we had hello.
Okay. Yeah. So let's look at it, right? First, the child has to have access to the system, right? We don't have to change any system that exists today. We don't have to change our school system. We can build an independent, standalone system like that guy I showed you. What's his name again?
Khan
Khan Academy. He didn't change any system. He built a system that people found valuable and started to go to and go to and go to and go to and go to. And people were educated, people learned skills, some people went there to learn a concept, some people went there to learn multiple concepts. So you don't have to change any system to start. It's nice to change systems, but I'm just saying. So that's one. First, the child needs access to the material. And that you're talking about some device, right? That's starting point. So it's either practically a laptop because of our electricity situation, because a laptop can hold charge for 8 hours, or a phone, right? You need that. And then you need internet access. We have to solve those two problems. And those two problems we can solve. One, already there are many cheap phones. And parents, if this becomes something that we can do micro-learning through phones, parents will get phone for their children. That may be cheaper than laptop, I don't know. Or we'll figure that one out. We can have a committee go and figure out how do we get a laptop with kids. But internet access, we have so many internet cell phone providers now that their bandwidth is not used at night, right? Why don't we that have influence and connection go and talk to them? Your servers are just sitting there at night. They are wasting because Nigeria's economy is not like the US yet that runs 24/7, right? A lot of things shut down by 10 p.m. and then they start up again the next morning. And if it is to teach our children to wake up in the night and study, if a cell phone company will give them free bandwidth, we can do that. Or if, yeah, so those are two things we have to solve. We should ideate on how to get the learners access to the system. Building the system can be done separately. The system will be in the cloud, right? Accessible from the whole world. And we have IT people that can build that one. And they can be building that in parallel. But how do we get our learners to connect? We should do a brainstorming session on that. Don't know how many of you know some of these CEOs of these cell phone companies. Let them just donate to us a certain amount of bandwidth every night that they're not using. That is essentially being wasted. It's a very good value proposition for them. And that you let them know the future coming generations will never forget them. Like many people today will never forget our love for what he did for education. That if they just donate that there are 7 key problems to educate the African child. And connectivity is one of them. If they can donate this, Africa will never forget them now in the future. And that they're already not using is wasted. Donate it. We will worry about getting the children to wake up at night and to use the system. And it will be free. I don't know. Dr. Menike, just give that idea.
Yeah, I think the issue of having to talk to those the telecoms, that shouldn't be a problem really. I'm sure if they see the value proposition in it, I'm sure they're willing to let go of those things, just for us to put it in a very packaged manner so that they can be able to see. That shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion, really.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Because of time, I'm just looking at the time. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time you're giving to us. One thing I will appeal on behalf of African Development Economists is that you give us that support from the beginning to the end. And you know the end is not defined. Hello, the end is not defined. So I'm very glad that you'll be with us through to the end, because what we are embarking on now is going to transform the whole of Africa. And charity, they say, it begins at home. So we start with here in Nigeria. And I would also like to suggest we all look at the way of Zambia, because Sandrina is from Zambia. Sandrina, are you on this call? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you.
Okay, so let's
I've enjoyed it.
Having this vision implemented in Nigeria and Zambia, and as much as God gives us the strength and the wisdom and everything, we see how we'll be able to identify institutions that will be willing to support us. Telecom, I will be able to talk 1 or 2 days to this time with Glo. I have connection with Glo. And then I know that the MD of the CEO of MTN also is from my village. I'm from the same village. I will see how I can reach out to them and see whether it will be possible for us to have a Zoom meeting with them and share our idea when we have perfected everything, of course. I also want to ask us, I will drop on our WhatsApp group, those that actually are interested in this project to volunteer, because it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of meetings, brainstorming sessions, and then a lot of probably even research to find out actually what is on ground, what is possible. So there is need for us, just sizable number, 4 or 5 people that will put it together and say, okay, this is what we want to do, and then we'll be able to come out with something tangible. I appreciate everyone, Obieme Nike, Toby Omo, Tayo, Dr. Akinola Gunju, Dr. Oluwafemi Lolobo, Dr. Akin Desmond, Dr. Fash. Dr. Fash, I need to see your face. You see, where you are, we can't see your face. Dr. Fash and Dr. Akinola Gunju, they are currently working with the World Bank. Imagine, on this call, we have 2 people from the World Bank. I think we should clap for them. If you can unmute yourself, just unmute yourself.
Thank you.
It's a great privilege. Wow, Dr. Fashion. I'm giving you thumb up, Dr. Fashion. Dr. Akin, can I see your face? Wow, can you see their faces? Those are my guys from the World Bank. And when I tell people that I'm powerful and I'm part of World Bank team, they think it's just, and we are going to be more than 50 in the World Bank. Imagine, it's a matter of time. And we'll have you people also becoming the CEO for World Bank, MD of World Bank. So it's a great pleasure having all of you here. And I have my friend, Dr. Moses, you see Alagbadia, Dr. Moses from UK. I wish you also can unmute or probably unmute your video so that we can see your face. Thank you so much for joining this. Okay, good. Can you see Dr. Moses? Thank you so much for being part of this, and I'm very, very sure tomorrow is going to be brighter than today, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much for being part of African development economy. It's not just a flute. It's our dream. It's what will make it to come to fruition. It's something that we see the fruit of it and say, wow, this is what we have done together. So once again, thank you so much for today. We are still meeting on Saturday. We are meeting on Saturday, and then the guest speaker will be unfair to us. We are still bringing Mr. Falokun back because it's just introduction. We have a lot of things to do together, and I pray that when the opportunity comes, we even go to US to see him face to face. I believe.
Amen.
Thank you so much. I said, let me allow Dr. Mercy to say the closing remark. Hello, Dr. Mercy.
Good evening. All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to say a big thank you to you, and also thank you to Mr. Ayo and everyone who has joined this call at this time. I know today, Saturday, we're supposed to be resting, but instead of that, we are thinking about solving Africa's problem. I'm sure that God himself is excited about this, and I know that by the time we begin to bring out the stuff that we are planning, Africa herself will be grateful. Our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren will be grateful to us. And I want to appreciate you all. Thank you very much for coming. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
I hope you can take the picture of everyone. I wish you can take picture of everyone or mute your picture if you are in a group, so that Dr. Mr. You are gone. Can help us snap it. Who can do that for us? Hello.
I'm not sure I have access. I think it should be from the site.
Let me give access to you so that you do it for us.
Do I know how to do that? I'm not very sure.
don't think I can do that. Who can do it for us?
Okay, let's.
Toby or Motayo, can you do that for us? Okay, if we are unable to do that, I think by next week we want to increase the number of attendants, and then we'll be able to have the pictures together. Don't forget, some of us, I want us to be volunteer too. I also, if you have anything to just give to us to subscribe for the annual Zoom meeting, just reach out to me. Whatever you have, nothing is small, nothing is big. Thank you so much. I say bye-bye to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good to see you, Dr. Olagunju.
Thank you, Ma. How's everything?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
It's good
Is it?
Dr. Fashogbo,
Dr. Olagunju, it's good seeing you all. Next week, we must actually be around.
Okay, I will try, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me see if I can scan this. If I can, I'm still struggling to do this.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, it will be better if a laptop is used, but if you're using your phone, it may not.
Okay. I think that's why it's not going through. Is a tab. So maybe some other time we do that.
Another time we will do that next time, right?
For laptop, anybody with laptop can capture everybody at once, but with phone, it may not be that easy or something. All right. So have a beautiful night rest. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. See you.